Okay, we should do.
Whereas actually you only have to for orders, and they have to.
You get custom buggered, yeah.
The statute.
I think we've got sound.
Sorry, fantastic. No, don't worry.
We can talk about this on the screen.
Yeah,
custom buggered. I'm making about Philip first off, making as a case study. Players custom buggered. Yeah.
It's exactly how wherever you are, that's how you've been trained.
Yeah.
Your mind. And that's
so they've done some good.
They're trained to look out for their own safety.
Children.
Okay, yeah, we're live and we've got sound.
Okay, fantastic. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the New Athens. I'm Lorenzo Mefsud. I'm here today in this wonderful new year that we're all having in the bunker with Massey from Kandahar.
Lord Roberts.
Lord Roberts, to talk about the geopolitics of the East and especially Afghanistan, where he's from. We have Oliver Babington-Wilson, the support human.
A support human interview. Yep. It's a new
Oliver
concept.
Nelkin
Yep.
on the production, and Marine, our resident artist in
Le
the
Pen.
corner.
Yeah.
Having just got back from the south of Russia. So today we have a very special guest. With whom we're very keen to discuss exactly what's going on in the East. We don't really know, and I think the starting point of our discussion we met.
I think you're right.
New Year's Day was that maybe there are two types of Anglos. Maybe
Just
there's the type of Anglo who you might meet who's never heard of Kandahar.
Yeah.
Or has only seen maybe some BBC news footage of a war in Afghanistan and maybe some Twin Towers and maybe some Iraq, but it mediated through mainstream media, a couple of very basic. And then we looked at someone like perhaps me, who has done some reading and done some research and has been involved in ideas about politics and ideas about international geopolitics for years. And what we got to in our sort of brief but very intriguing conversation on New Year's Day was that I don't know from you whether someone in my position of being in my head informed is actually further from the truth than the virgin territory of the Anglo walking in the street who's not really involved in it.
Well, what's the truth?
Well, we need the.
We got the truth. Yeah, that's history. Yeah.
The thing is, majority of things you know about Afghanistan,
believe I know,
Iraq, or whatever
yeah.
is being taught to you by media.
Yes.
Now, before, let's say, example, in 2003, the whole West was convinced that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, that was a madness.
The
Yeah.
whole West was convinced, whether you knew Saddam Hussein or you didn't know Saddam Hussein, for you, Saddam Hussein was a bad guy.
No. There was a 1 million man march, which was a valiant effort at nothing.
When was this?
This was in London in 2003.
This is supposed to stop the war, not Saddam Hussein. The idea of a person, the way it was given to you, the war, what you guys did for the war, that we marched for the war, and we tried to stop it, that was not because of didn't want to go to the war with Iraq for no reason.
I think you're right.
You guys didn't go on march when it came to Afghanistan. With you guys, but you still went on war. And the moment you went to Iraq, it was nothing to do with Saddam Hussein.
No, I mean Saddam Hussein was a creature of the CIA and was actually put in power to stabilize that region by American interests. And so he was a member of Parliament, right?
See, this was the idea again. How you see it being perceptive. When just because America or just because Saddam Hussein was working with Americans, that does not make him a CIA agent.
No, not an agent, but an asset.
Again, you see, all right. When Saddam Hussein came in power, you have to look back in Saddam Hussein's history, who he was as a person. Did he had any foreign links in first place?
So in my understanding, now tell me if I'm wrong or if you have another idea. So just to sort of summarize, Saddam Hussein is from Tikrit, which is like a town north of Baghdad, and he had like the Tikriti mob, which he turned into the Baath Party. They're like a set of families who own this town Tikrit, and then he came down as their MP to Baghdad, and then was selected by some pressures, perhaps international, who might form a coup, and then he took the MPs out and shot them.
for their own safety
and
as well as
I saw
ours.
some video footage of that. And then at that point, the Republic overturned. Well, the Democratic Republic overturned, and he took control.
You've got the story right halfway.
Okay.
The idea that how from a mob he was selected by someone else was not actually true. He was he became a rebel, or he was noticed by that time king or president of the time, who was Saddam was his right hand man.
Yes.
What was who Saddam was as a person? He was first of all a very charismatic person.
Yes, you could see from his trials and so on. Yeah.
The guy had his own ways and style. And time, you have to understand, this is back in 60s and 70s where Iraq has got a lot of oil, but no one tapping it, or had people trying to get in there. And at the same time, very important thing at that time, Iran was a big player in the region, big player, and it was sort of a fight for who is going to control the Middle East, the Persian Sea. Would it be Iran after the Brits would leave, because they was in 19 something when the Brits left the Caspian Sea? So it was kind of prominent for that as well. And Iraq needed a leader. And that leader at the time when Saddam Hussein took the coup on him, he was not the relevant person to actually run next to Iran to compete in the region.
So, as I understand, during Saddam's rise to power, the Americans decided, okay, to counteract Iran, we're going to build up the armaments of this guy, Hussein, and he will become our creature. We'll provide him with arms, and then he will fight the Iranians for us, which happened with the Iran-Iraq War, which was extremely bloody. To take a step back briefly, I think that the reason perhaps why this occurred was that Iraq is fundamentally a creature of Winston Churchill. He went around and drew some lines on a map during the
Harry may be more clever. Yeah, Section 6.
And well, he actually it was actually Churchill that first gassed the Kurds in 1929. Along with Bomber Harris.
First quite a lot
so what he did was he drew lines on a map, and actually the divide and rule policy within the British Empire meant they wanted the Marsh Arabs and some of the Shia and some of the Sunni in this kind of hodgepodge Iraq idea, because it would mean they'd fight against one another. And so if they're in a nation and Kurds as well, as 4 tranches of peoples. The Sunnis have the fertile land and the city in Baghdad. The Shia have the oil fields and more population.
What are you talking about?
Iraq.
No,
This is the British imperial idea of what Iraq would be. So they drew it out. Iraq didn't really exist. It was like 4 different bits of 4 different nations,
like Belgium, yeah.
Bits of 4 different nations.
Like Nigel, yeah.
Iraq is one of the oldest.
As a territory, as a territory.
We've been clocked there.
Really?
Look, a lot of things sometimes when I used to discuss quite a lot of ideas of how you guys see things, it baffles me. It's amazing that you. Okay, if you go back before a lot of countries in Iraq existed. And
I'm not saying there was a civilization there. I'm not. No, what I'm saying is that
as a nation state,
Baghdad was made for thousands of years and a center of civilization. Absolutely. What I'm saying is the nation of Iraq is a fiction of the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the entry of the British Empire. And they said, okay, this is Jordan, this is Lebanon, this is Iraq, and here are the borders.
It all happened when Bob Marley left Babylon. They moved out, you know.
Put elements of different peoples into these borders. Give them a government, so they'll fight in the government, and then you can keep your domination.
They were already there, but what it is, and what Brits have always been very, very good at is divide and rule, as you said earlier on.
You half I choose.
However they do, they're absolutely great at it. I can't really say much about Iraq because, first of all, I'm not from Iraq, and second, it would be very wrong of me to say or judge. The conversation came up. And I think it was not because of Saddam.
Let's get back on our home native territory, because otherwise we do both speculating.
For us, the Afghans when we hear that, oh, the West believe that we managed to fly planes into the building and you came into war with us.
Yeah, bad GPS, yeah. We get in our village, there's lorry drivers following their sat nav too much, and they're coming in. Here we are.
And the people in there, genuinely, even though they're very uneducated,
yes,
the basic needs of life is so hard. Like, for granted in Afghanistan, it would be, when electricity comes, people are like, yes, we have got electricity. So it's a very huge thing. Despite all of this, we believe that how, sorry to say, we find how stupid can West get that they have got the technology, they have got the money, they have got the spare time to actually sit down and plan all of these random wars for no reason. Yet they think that we, the poor people, with no technology, managed
to hijack planes.
To hijack planes, not only hijack them, to
pilot them.
And
do the reticle fire again into the town.
You're very.
You've got orders of magnitude.
To even get to it.
And go to a Virginia flight. And of course, the problem then is that all of the hijackers were Saudis. Maybe we should start with the notion of Afghan and guests. Because I think that was a good place we started.
Why is the war in Afghanistan? Why is it not in Saudi?
2001, after the Twin Towers incident, whatever that was, and that's a different matter. Some Saudis were blamed for flying two planes into the Twin Towers, and then there was a war, as you say, with Afghanistan, and under the governance of Mullah Omar, a totally different regime. So where are we at? Why did that occur?
Why is the war in Afghanistan? So the West have decided that it was Bin Laden who did this.
Von Laden, yeah. Graf von Laden, yeah.
We got that thing right. Not Afghans, not Afghans, right? Did they have anything to do with that? No, they didn't have anything to do. Right. Where should we go war?
Let's go.
Let's find a random place.
How did you manage to come to that?
Pin the tail on the donkey.
This was the Afghan people, the group of Taliban. A very important point. Talib, the word Talib is an Arabic word.
It's a surname as well, isn't it? Yeah.
No, Talib means
I've seen it as a surname. Yeah. Oh, I see. Right.
Talib, it could be surname.
Well, sorry, yeah.
It could be from Saudis.
I've seen Talib.
Yeah.
The Anti-Fragile and Black Swan and Skin in the Game. He's a great economist, actually.
Yeah. Talib means...
He's Lebanese, I think.
A student.
He's very much a student.
Someone who and mostly it means in a very humble way.
Yes.
So Taliban means students.
Well, students of Jar, like Bob Marley.
They could be students of anything.
Yeah.
They could be students of Jar.
Get up, stand up for your rights. Yeah, I agree.
Student movement.
Against the Russians, they stood up and they said, "Look, Afghanistan has never been, even the poor. The people have been very poor, but they've never been submissive. It's ruled India, Pakistan for over."
Failed in India. Oh, they failed in Afghanistan, right?
No, listen, not even going there. How did you manage with 20 or 30 million population of yours to rule over 1 billion people?
Yes.
Right? But you guys did.
Yes.
That they had, we Afghans have never had that, regardless of who you are. We do not care. If you're now in our land as a guest, you can stay here for as long as you want.
Well, as Noel said, the playing fields have eaten them, made them frightfully brave, you see. So it's all part of this hubristic English. I'm an Englishman. Bugger off foreigners, you know. It's all that spirit. Yeah.
We don't care who you are and what you have. We are not submissive. The reason you have got so many Indians and Pakistanis and Bengalis in the UK right now is because after the Second World War II, the Brits, they came to the Asia and they literally employed these people from India, Pakistan to come and be slave for us. But we didn't really put it in those terms. When it came to Afghanistan, our king at the time, we said we don't want to send none of our Afghans. And if you do look at the statistics after 96, It's majority of the Afghans which you might have seen them appearing in here. Before that, you wouldn't have known any Afghans in here in West. People still, the Afghans, we love our land. For us to come and be in someone else's, you can get to, as a white man, you've never faced racism. I have. It's not really a good feeling. And the only racism is the idea of, sometimes we feel not even say anything. That's how stupid your ideas come across to us. Like, example, when we are called terrorists, we're like, I swear you're the one who's
who's invading whom here? Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we do not say.
So I so
the man,
and then the prime minister against the king sent him into exile, Dowd, and Dowd became president of the republic.
He was a cousin, yes.
He was a cousin and prime. Okay. So he was in the royal dynasty, but he was not in the line of succession. So he went from prime minister to president, kicked the king out, and then until 1980. Well, was it 1978? 1978. There was the Taliban. The students rose up in the Taliban revolution.
No. Actually, that's time when the Russians came into Afghanistan. When the Russians came into Afghanistan in the 90s, remember, Russia was a superpower at the time.
It's been a politic.
Yes.
You could not mess with them. No American, and especially they won at the time. America has just lost the war in Vietnam.
Oh, like Lavrenti Beria, the man into history. Yeah.
You know, they have got a lot in America. Americans have got a lot to show to the Russians because they've just lost the war.
Yes.
Now, when USSR came to Afghanistan, America knew this very well. That Pakistan is not going to stop them. India is not going to stop them.
Shalom Narendra, yeah.
They have been the submissive people in the first place.
Yes.
Even though this has left, it's still they left them.
They partitioned it, and they turned they turned them against one another with wars. And there was a war between East and West Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, and the Pakistanis murdered all of the Bangladeshis. It was horrid, and so there was a huge amount of. And it was in fight.
Absolutely, you have to understand Britain very well. That Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, all these countries, they have got will to fight each other, but they cannot and they will not fight any outsiders.
Yes, it's in the subcontinent.
They've got their own thing. They can fight themselves.
Yeah, the Himalaya just sit there, and everything underneath that is.
It's like if you see India and Pakistan's.
When Narendra's doing quite a lot of fighting, isn't he? You know, Shalom Narendra. I mean, we got to get Imran on the job, yeah.
But the moment you're fighting against foreign troops, no. That's not us. So America knew the only place Russians can be stopped is in Afghanistan. And it was wrongs of the people. The people said, we don't like to be slaves. We have never accepted slavery, and we have never been occupied. Whoever has came to Afghanistan, so-called occupied, we have fought.
Section 6
never stopped ever.
So after the Second World War, as far as I understand it, from my reading of this history, which is from the BBC, Bitter Lake, very interesting film. It's considered, Adam Curtis is considered like anti-establishment inside the BBC. Give the standard neoliberal line. He looks more difficulties of history and the difficulties of understanding. I've been very influenced by his work, and I checked out his film on Afghanistan again, which is very good. Today, and one thing he did a bit of a chronology, and he said that so after the Second World War, the American Hoover Dam Company came into Afghanistan with the offer of we'll build you hydroelectric dams and make green and pleasant land and make more farmland.
Jerusalem.
And so that was then, they then had American companies come and build dams, canals, and so on. That then rose to the surface salts from the soil as an unintended consequence, which made them suitable for poppies.
Suitable for you.
And so I don't know, I don't know if this is true, but the claim that Adam Curtis
opioid, very good.
The poppies of Afghanistan were a consequence of the dam developments, not native to Afghanistan for many centuries or anything like that, but it was like a recent thing. And so the Opium War element.
We've got to be grateful for that, haven't we?
So the Americans made like an offer of Afghanistan to enter into the American sphere of influence. Then Dowd was also entertaining Russian offers of help and development and and playing them off against one another. That was his infrastructure money to develop African electricity and so on. So then he deposes the king. He becomes powerful. He declares a republic, and then about 8 years later or so, he's assassinated during this Taliban rising. And then the Taliban government says, right, we are going to adopt a policy of neutrality. We're not going to be in the American sphere of influence. We're not going to be in the sphere of influence. That's the starting point. But then, where does the Soviet-Afghan war fit into that?
So, after Second World War, Americans were no longer seen as a superpower, even though they were. But because they've lost wars,
they're fat buggers, aren't they?
They have got quite a, and they're very scared of Russians sort of making the whole world into communism. That was the idea at the time.
Yes,
the whole world would be communist by Russia.
Yeah, Lavrenti. Yeah.
They did when they made when the war was against Russia. It was in 1978, 79 when they started taking all Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. Again, all of these people. It was just like a dominoes. Yes. One after another, they were falling. But the Afghan people, this was not their first war. We have had you guys kicked out more than us.
We were Captain Buggered,
Alexander Magnus was apparently killed.
One of the guys. Yes. So the people are not submissive people. They stopped the Russians. And they walked every single family. They fought with whatever they had home. What happened in here was very interesting. That our neighbors, let's say, example, Pakistan.
Imran, yeah.
They were born in 1947
with the partition, which was a British initiative.
This one and
so they said essentially this area of the Indian subcontinent has more Hindus in this area.
Yes, and Narendras,
more Muslims in. So we're going to the dividing line goes, of course, through Kashmir, but it was just based on like majority. Where's the majority population of which religion?
So actually, this was this line that right now is a huge conflict between Afghanistan and Pakistan at this moment of time. Every single day, there's a huge conflict.
That eastern border of Afghanistan goes down.
Now that is a border recognized only by Pakistan, never by Afghanistan.
Yeah,
we have never recognized that border. That border was made in 1893. It was Henry Durand. He made it with the king Amanullah at the time. It was meant to be a line just for the Brits. The idea of that line was not
a line,
the country. It was to actually make another stop if the Russians try to invade it.
Oh, like a borderland, or
it was
like
not even a land, because bear in mind, Afghanistan, over half of the population is a Pashtun. They are Pashtun.
They're like Alian Khantareen,
so
Khantareen,
people. The population of Afghanistan is about 30 million. Yet the Pashtuns over the border of Afghanistan, which was now called Pakistan, is about over 30 million. So the Afghans, they have never recognized this line has a border where the Pakistanis have.
Yeah.
So what Pakistan did in here, they got the reason,
like Kurdistan, the Kurds say, okay, we've got Kurdistan. It's located in several nations.
But
I don't think we need to be ruled by Aitchison College in Lahore. I think they'd sort us out.
Yeah,
not the Doon. We don't like the Narendras in the Doon. We like the Aitchisonians.
It would have been more like that.
Yeah, non-Narendras. Yeah,
they are people of history. They have
a man known to history
behind them.
Yes,
it's not that Kurds are born. If you look at Pakistani people, the people itself, they don't know who they are originally. Are they Indians? Are they Afghans? Pakistan. To say you're from Pakistan, you're referring to you as a country.
Nation.
But when I say I'm an Afghan, I'm not referring to a country. I'm referring to people. I'm referring to the history.
So there's actually two layers.
Absolutely. So if you ask a Pakistani person or a Bengali person, are you a Muslim first, or are you a Bengali or Pakistani, they will tell you they're Muslim first. Because the country was born for Muslim. But if you ask an Afghan, are you an Afghan first or Muslim first? They'll tell you we are Afghan first because our history goes back before Islam.
Yes.
So the people
can trace that history.
You can go back to it.
Yeah.
But what Pakistan did in past 45 years of war, they took so much money from America that they were able to build a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Right now, Pakistan has got probably the second or third highest most nuclear weapon in the world.
Yes.
How did you manage to get that?
Good cricketers. Yeah. Yeah.
So the people and it's always favorism where America is who's allowed to have nuclear weapon, who's allowed not to have nuclear weapon. In this whole general, we as Afghans, what we think. If you look back in I'm sure you can find a video of 1963 when the Afghanistan's king, he was invited into America. There was a whole parade.
I saw the London one. Actually, it's featured in that doc.
There's one in America as well. There's whole parade of
he's with Lyndon Johnson.
The president.
There's one of Lyndon. No, that's with Dowd.
John Kennedy. He's actually with John Kennedy.
With Kennedy. Yes,
the king is with.
So Kennedy. I saw Dowd with Lyndon Johnson.
Yes, and the king is with Kennedy. And there's a parade. So the people were very liberal. Back in 1950s and 60s, Afghanistan, Bamiyan, where the biggest statue of Buddha was. These people were a vacation holidays for presidents and prime ministers.
Yes.
Afghanistan was example city of Herat. Majority of places in East, I should say, they've got huge history behind them purely because of the education purposes.
Yes.
You cannot name me a city in the UK or in France that this was well known for their education 500 years ago.
Slough.
It was not
Oxford.
Yeah, it's Slough, yeah.
None of them these were. The
Oxford, Cambridge,
numbers, whatever you're reading, or even papers, it was invented in those places.
Yes.
Nothing to do in West.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
I mean, there are Indian universities from thousands of years ago. So,
In which universities?
Indian universities and so on from thousands of years ago.
Narendras, yeah.
India is the south. Iraq, early on back there.
Jindal,
yeah, absolutely.
Tehran.
Yes.
So these Kandahar, Herat. Herat is one of the cities that people used to come for education from different parts of the world.
Yes.
Now the whole idea, media is very strong. Now, not even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, they would have told you that Taliban are terrorists. Now they dealt with them, and they went to Doha. They said to Taliban, they sat down, they dealt with them, and they left.
Yeah.
When Taliban came,
well, one man's terrorist, another one's freedom fighter. It's like the IRA guy, Bobby Sands. I thought he was a bit of a monkey, but actually, whatever your view is, people go, right, this guy's a clever guy, whatever. Same with that, paradigms need to be changed, don't they, and adjusted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now Taliban are thinking, hold on a second, you're the one who came to my land. You're the one who started a fight with me, which you wanted Bin Laden, and all I said to you that because he's my guest.
So the guest right. Tell us about the guest right.
So this is something
Gastarbeiter.
We have as a Pashtuns. We have the set of rules we go by, and I think there was a movie made.
I have one of your hats. I love those hats. They're great. Yeah.
One of the
it's
called Lone Survivor or something like that. And the movie was about this Afghan guy saving this American army's life, even though it cost him.
I'm a Shithra Ali Chief.
Yes.
I'm a Shithra Ali Chief.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
So they were even though he lost a couple of his family members. So what it is, we say that when you're our guest, no matter what happens, we will die for you. Until you're our guest. The moment you leave my house, and if you're my enemy, that's another story. So when George Bush, they actually called Mullah Omar at the time, Taliban's leader, to ask him for Bin Laden, and his replies was that he's a guest in my house. No matter what you do, you cannot take him from my house. Whenever he leaves
Himmler House, I think it's Himmler House.
Then you can take him, and hence why you did not find Bin Laden in Afghanistan.
It's like Boris Johnson, Benson and Hedges, Dr. Johnson, Sam got a Bunsen burner, all that stuff. Yeah.
So, Osama bin Laden was supposedly found in Abbottabad, which is the Sandhurst. It has like the officer training corps of you could apparently see from the house where they supposedly found him. And so he was a guest of Musharraf, but that was a slightly different matter.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If you see, I have seen a lot of Pervez Musharraf's interviews and a lot of these journalists interview. They say to the so-called big media, BBC, and they say, "No, we didn't know. I mean, he was just right next door to us. We didn't know. We have managed to."
It's like West Point. It's like
we have managed to feed this war for past 30 years, but Bin Laden was in my backyard. I didn't know. Yet,
was it fun?
The West are blindly accepting everything they're saying. They tell you this was a very smart narrative from them. They told you, "Come, we will give you." Pakistan said to West, to America, "Come, we will give you a place so you can go and bomb Afghanistan from my land.
Yes,
but you have to pay me for this. I'm not going to allow you for free." So they
cost and loss, yeah.
And then they told the Afghans, "Don't worry, we are fighting. We are sending money to support this war for you." They're literally, in order for them to get money, they used to train people to send 1,000 people was good to keep Americans busy for 5 months, 6 months. But in this 5-6 months, every single day was hundreds and millions of dollars coming into Pakistan. Why wouldn't you keep? It's like keeping a fool with you who's rich.
Yes,
keep them.
we've got a lot of those around here, actually. A lot of those around here. Yeah. Thank you.
You have got pockets full of money.
Yes,
and you have came to me, who you know that I'm well-known number one dodgy people. I mean, look, every single president or prime minister of Pakistan, from the day they were born until now, the only thing they've thought about is Pakistan, which is absolutely respectable. But they're taking everyone else for fool in the world. And everyone is playing that fool.
Happily, at some level.
Happily.
Yes.
You're quite right.
Happily.
So,
Bob Marley said, "So much trouble in the world," and he's quite right. You know, that's what we got to. You know, that's what we're up against.
So,
you know,
land reform. So what I was getting from what I was watching was that the Taliban rising was not only about Soviets. It was also about ending the feudal land holding system.
I let Mustafa Khan's by one,
farmers, so they would have their own land. Rather than be peasants farming the lord's land, they would flatten the land registry and then give out parcels of land to farmers so they could have their own property. Was that part of that revolution?
You see, it's
First off, yeah.
The whole idea is just ridiculous. You guys make it sound that those people, which I just explained to you, probably 56 years ago, were most educated people were there.
They went to Harrow, yeah.
And yet they're fighting over the land of who's. This is ridiculous. We have in Afghanistan, we have got 90% of everything important to us. We don't make rice like India and Pakistan. Like, we don't have these things. We don't have fight over land.
Yes.
The West, when they came, the same way when they found America, when Christopher Columbus went there and they saw the Native Americans, they saw how hospitable, how good people they were. And they massacred over 3 million people just to
wow. You know, just because you got cuffs and it says Headley on your head doesn't mean you please, you know.
Yeah. Right. So we were and another amazing thing that the West think that democracy, how they see it should be acceptable for everyone in the world.
Suitable for them.
We completely disagree. Democracy, what is a democracy? And where do you define democracy? What is that line you define it in? So just example, in here, you have so-called women's right, where we don't see it as actual women's right. We see the opposite. You guys are very clever bees. You know, you guys made women work so you can tax them.
Yep, Albert McFry. Yep.
Hold on a second. Now,
hold on.
Time of the world has ended. How often did the man wanted their women to go and actually work? How often was the idea of equal right and everything, it's the Western men who have put this idea into the mind of a woman.
It's a good point,
Right
actually.
now,
It's a good point.
They're not comfortable. If you ask me, my mother, example, she has been a teacher purely because she wanted to teach kids, not because of any financial reasons. I would
an extremist,
let my mom work for financial reasons. I wouldn't let. I'm a man. I'm born for me to work. This is my job to work. I cannot stay at home and give birth. This is not what I do. This is what a woman does, right? By biology, by nature, there is nothing that you can say to me that say, oh, you know what? Look, when a woman have a child, right? That child needs breastfeeding.
No woman, no child.
But a woman can do it.
No woman, no child.
If a woman says to me, oh, I'm going to have a baby, and I'm going to work as well, oh, then that's not fair for the baby. Why are you having the baby for? Because that baby needs attention. Whether it was for food, whether by who they are. You are taking that right from the kid. Why are you having it?
Yeah.
For what? Are you just having baby so you know whenever you come out from work, you're tired. Oh, where's my baby? Let me take him, make me in a good mood. Keep a dog.
It's actually a very good idea, yeah.
What is the point of you having the reason you have a baby in order for you to have a successful
and then Heinrich
person?
Would
you have
make
to feed them, you have to nourish them, you have to look after them. And this is not a man's job. It's absolutely not. If you let's say me, I have a daughter, right?
How old is she? Shout out. Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, sorry. Hypothetically. Yeah, I assume you do. You can whack one out now, can't you? Just crack one off and
I can't. How would I be able to actually look after a girl as a man? First of all, I'm not home all the time. Second of all, it needs attention. And third of all, most importantly, there's a woman, it's a girl. And I, as a man, cannot or do not know half of the things when she's growing up. I wouldn't know. Right? But a woman does. A woman does. So the idea has been kind of reversed now that, you know what, men has to do equal thing as women. Okay, but would women do equal thing as men as well?
Yeah, and they all want all the CEOs jobs. They don't want to get put on a high-vis jacket, high-vis, and go to building site and go, yeah, I'm one of them. You know, they want to be CEOs. Where's all the high-vis women on the building sites, you know? Yeah.
But if she has a boy, not a girl, how can she teach him to be a real man?
Exactly.
If she's a woman.
Exactly. Now, if you
very good question.
Every single man, the way we see it, if they know who they are, is only known because of their mother. Their mother is the one who teaches them the world. It's their mother who tells them what is right and what is wrong in the world. It's their mother who tells them the right of a woman for them from the start. Don't do this against women. You cannot fight women. You know, you cannot hurt a woman. These are the basic things that a woman teaches you. If you were brought up by a bunch of men, the first thing they did, right, let's and you know, men have got different idea of bringing up a kid than a woman. It's easy to have a boy and a mother grows him up, and that man, the first person to respect knows is a woman, because
Joe, I know, because I used to drive a taxi.
Yeah.
So Philip first and I went to Grimsby with some people from Slough Comp, and we were sitting outside the pub, and this guy was going on about renewable energy. He said, "I think wind turbines are a sham." He said, "No, I know." We expect him to say, "Well, I did an internship at the renewable energy institute," and he said, "Because I used to drive a taxi, right, and I had him in my cab, and we spoke. It was a fucking sham." So anyway, slight point about this is that all these weird sort of colloquial, informed people making opinions. You're right, and that's what we've been ruled by these people in the West now, like, oh, you can do this, you can do that, and you're quite right about these concepts. These a priori, concepts. Yeah.
Now, that's why you see the idea of cheating. Why has it become okay for you guys? Is if you're in a relationship with someone and your girlfriend goes out and cheats, you'd be like, okay, you know what, babe, I'll give you another chance. Because apparently I love you.
Yeah, TK, yeah.
You know, or you will leave them.
A tear, yeah.
The emotional damage that she does is not accounted for. Because what you guys have done, you guys have given this right that, if men can cheat, women can cheat. Actually, you're wrong. It's not the idea of
I think you're wrong.
Cheating is for men and women, they have got they're different people. They've got different mindset, and they'll be accountable. They'll be accountable differently for their actions. You know, if I walk into a room and I see 10 men again with one woman, and she's ready to do everything.
That's what Narendra's do. Yeah.
There is no way in right mind I would want to have any sort of relationship with a woman. Am I wrong? Probably yes. I don't know the woman, but this is the first impression she gives me, right? But if I walk into a man, or if a woman walks into a room that it's got one man against 12 women, the ideas are different. Then you think, player.
Yeah. Like Imran Khan was a player in his youth. Yeah. Not your one, the other one. Yeah, Pakistani one. Yeah.
If you don't want it, it's sometimes a praise.
Yeah.
Again, a man can look. I can have 10 babies in 1 month with 10 different women, but a woman can have only one per year.
You just crack one off and put your sperm in a sperm bank, and you get paid. I think you get there's offering you £100 a month for it first, or something. You can get some income on the side. This is quite a good idea, isn't it? And then you've got all your progeny just all around the world.
So you've got a lot of lonely people.
Yeah.
Half of whom are depositing sperm, and half of whom are looking for sperm without any interaction at all.
Yeah.
It's like totally disintermediated by the technology.
Yeah.
Put it in a freezer. Then
you've lost values for everything.
Yes.
Another word.
Yes.
For you to go give out your sperm and
you
not to know your child.
Yes.
You've lost value for it.
Yes.
You don't know
value for money. Yeah.
And
so that's
ready to give your child.
Yes.
Without even knowing them.
Yes.
£400.
Yeah.
Ideas is just, and someone else is actually ready to buy your child £100. It's just you've lost.
And the thing about sperm banks, the interesting thing about sperm banks is there's a 1-to-1 relationship between a sperm bank, the scientist that set up the sperm, the guy that set up the sperm bank, and all the kids being his. Like every single one, the guy that set it up, he only gives out his own sperm. This is an astronaut, this is a doctor. You've got a book of men who you can look at and say, I'll choose this sperm. Never happens. Always the genetic logic, the Genghis Khan logic says that the guy that founds the sperm bank ends up having 10,000 children, because he can't get into his head, I've actually got to get these other men to do it. Because he has the genetics kicks in, and every single one you find, if they do the analysis, actually they're all the kids of one man, who was the founder of it.
And was that man known to history?
No. Each sperm bank is founded by a guy, and that guy ends up being the guy who fathers all of the kids. In that sperm
so the
bank.
man known to history is Genghis Khan.
Yes.
Was right. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Dystopia.
Very much so, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, these small things, the West, what they have done, they have changed everything for the value of money. Everything. As I said earlier on, if you have got a relationship of 5 years or 10 years with someone, and I come along with a Lamborghini and tell this girl, look, this Lamborghini is yours, just come with me, they'll leave the bloody relationship.
They would, wouldn't they? Yeah.
You have lost value for everything.
They see you rolling the hating.
Yeah. For material things, you guys have lost the values of what we were born for, why we were here in the first place, and yet we are the one who's called backward, and you're the one called forward for some reason, which is a weird one.
But we've been looking at this recently, in terms of camera technology, in terms of space technology, in terms of architecture. If you look at old, If you look at ancient,
don't go architecture. You have got nothing to do with architecture.
Technology. So if you look at ancient things, often they're better made, more beautiful, more functional.
Absolutely.
But architecture. You see beautiful classical ancient architecture, and you think, well, we now build in plastic, and we build in glass, and we build in concrete, and it all falls apart in 10 years. This stuff has been lasting for 1,000 years. It's sitting around. That's interesting. We're also doing an analysis of camera technology. We were looking at big glass plate cameras from the 19th century. Hoods, glass plates, actually functions far better than digital sensors for creating large format architectural photography. And then we were looking at space. So for 10 years, between 2011 and 2020, the Americans were hitching their astronauts onto Soyuz rockets in Russia from the 1960s because they shut down their own space program. NASA shut down the Apollo program and lost the tapes. They don't even know how to do it again to get to the moon or get to a high Earth orbit. They then shut down the space. They then shut down the space shuttle program.
But do you believe these stories, though?
Hmm?
Do you believe that?
Do I believe that they got to the moon?
I mean, all of these stories in the film. Do you actually believe these stories?
That there is a space program
and they lost the.
I mean, they did shut down the space shuttle program. I mean, so the last space shuttle flight was in 2011, and then between then and now, the American astronauts which is supposedly the superpower, as you were saying, were then hitchhiking rides on Russian rockets to go to this International Space Station with technology from the 1960s. So you're seeing,
yes.
so you're right that often you see old tech, antiquitech, old technology was actually greater than we have now. Okay, we've got digital phones, as you see, we've got smartphones, and all our technology is pretty much bottlenecked into the function of a smartphone. And if you look at all the other kinds of technology, from space to architecture to cameras to any other kind of technology apart from the smartphone, and including social technologies, as we were discussing before, it's actually degraded. Our technological base is degraded. But we're told that because this exists, that we're progressing.
Just because you've got a phone.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea was look, do you know that I can say majority of the people in third world country has got more open mind and free mind to think compared to you guys?
Yeah, it's true. Bob Marley always said that. He was quite right.
And I'll tell you why. If right now the whole information and every single thing you guys need is in your phone.
Yes.
And it's very easy for all these social medias to convert your mind
and brainwash us
into whatever they like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We've seen it countless times happening, haven't we? Yeah.
Even right now, the fact that you believe all these stories and that's tell you and they lost it. Like, I always wondered, like, how old do you have to be in order for you to believe these stories? But then again, when I see, I was coming by train earlier on and I saw people, every single one in the train, it was like, I could have walked and
they're on Grindr trying to find hookups.
I don't know, poison in the air for them. No one would have realized.
Yeah, I've tapped you. Yeah,
and you said that Afghans aren't terrorists.
No Afghan, no terrorists.
When you go to
no Afghan, no terror.
Think like this. They have got their own mind.
Yes.
They've got their own thinking.
Yes.
So you cannot, by social media, you cannot push someone to say, right, we Brits are the best people, or
yes,
the narrative would nowhere. We think, look at you guys, 80 years ago, you guys were ready to kill which you actually did, massacre 6 million Jews.
Yeah, Johnny Lennon. Yeah,
the whole country,
apply.
Germany, educated people.
Yes, the Jews. I was reading. You're absolutely quite. I was reading that. Sorry, but fucking good point. Absolutely, and you're quite. It's very dangerous. Reading about the man known to history as Heinrich Himmler. He was born in Munich in 1900. His mother Anna Maria Himmler, his father Luitpold Himmler. They're a Catholic family. The Himmler household, the Himmler brothers, etc., etc. Nasty people, but these tyrants get everywhere, and we got to be careful. We got to fight for our rights. You're quite right. Yeah.
The idea of you saying that this is probably the best thing you have. No, it's actually the worst thing humans are facing this technology. Because now, anything happens, no one gives an F about it because no one's thinking for themselves.
Yes.
Everyone is thinking for whatever the social media is pushing you their narrative to. For us, this is why we're rebel people. We're not submissive. You have got you have got mandate in the majority of European countries. You have got vaccine mandate. What does that mean? That means the government is forcing so much. Do you know how much one vaccine is made? Something about 60-70p. One vaccine is made for 60-70p.
I think it's Himmler House.
Do you know how much they're sold? Over $20.
Yes.
hold on a second. Why are you forcing me?
Yeah, cost and loss.
To have vaccine in why?
It's a mortgage, human mortgage.
Absolutely.
So we reported on this on the 19th.
And we're mortgagors,
on the 19th of January 2020. The British government took possession of all of our bodies.
Section 6.
Everyone over 18
At first possession
was put into an organ donor program. Before that date, midnight, it had been opt-in, so you have to sign up. When I die, I want my.
It used to be in Long Wales, wasn't it?
Gifted,
but you
gifted to the NHS.
Your passport when you apply for your license.
So on that date at midnight, with no publicity whatsoever and no vote, no democracy whatsoever, the government shifted it. So now, unless you sign a piece of paper, your organs are property of the state. You've leased your body. You're renting your body from the state. And like any lease,
I rent mine out, actually.
You should give back the property when you've terminated the lease as you found it to the landlord. So now suddenly your organs, which are
for damage.
Damage, don't take drugs or whatever. You've been drinking too much. We're going to take money off you because the organs you're keeping for us, you're not keeping them well. So what's very interesting is the assetization of the human body. So, and you can see this with the vaccines. So with the great, what we call the Great Body Snatch, the Great British Body Snatch of 2020, they turned our organs into assets, because before they were just lumps of jelly in our bodies, but now they've got a book value. And of course, we have this idea of organ donation, but actually there's an organ industry that sits behind free at the point of use NHS. And so an organ is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sure. If you look in China, if you look at the trade in America, and in Mexico. So what the government just did was they said, okay, you're worth $1 million in here, and we're going to create a certificate that now creates that $1 million. And who's on the top of the certificate as the owner of the deed of this mortgage? Oh, it's us. Oh, it's not you who actually grew them and it is them. It's actually us. And so imagine that, like, we're going to create all this value and we're going to assign it away.
To imagine it; they're doing it.
Well, I mean, that's what a birth certificate. That's what a birth certificate was. I have this territory. I'm a government, and I have this number of babies born this year. In 20 years' time, I have this number of workers. So this stack of birth certificates represents maybe 1 million, 10 million. Each in terms of the overall lifetime of the contract of this person as a worker and the money they'll create for the economy.
Yeah.
And in terms of velocity of money, in terms of trade, they'll make all these, they'll do some work and they'll spend some money, whatever. So I, as a government, can then issue credit notes. I can issue fiat currency on the basis of these babies being born, which is why birth certificates are compulsory. They don't let you not have an organic baby, because they want to know how many mortgages they have, so they know how much money they can sell and print. Now,
it's compulsory here because you people are submissive. Yes,
we're very submissive. We got cuffed and buggered. It was
so the government doesn't serve us; we serve the government here. I don't know if that exists within the freedom of the Pashtuns, but the logical solution would be: okay, yes, people are assets. The value of money comes from people's labor and people's energy in life. So instead of that value accruing to the state, that value should be given to each person on their 18th birthday, so they can go and do something.
Thank you.
So it's like retirement. You have retirement. No, you should have retirement at the start of your life, and work out what you're for. So instead of saying, okay, well, we're going to accrue this money on the back end, and then maybe you'll retire into an old people's home and you'll die age 65.
Well, that sounds nice, actually.
When you retire, you lose your purpose to live and so on. Instead, we should be giving that $1 million at 18. Say, look, your life authors this money, and we give it to you to set up your life and create a business or create something for yourself.
What you're doing, you are actually harming any future generation which might come along who has got passion for learning or passion for actually becoming something. Because if you give everyone $1 million, every kid $1 million, what happens after that $1 million is finished? Then do they start living a poverty life? So this is not a race like, look, we have allocated, that's all we do, we give this $1 million, and then what happens if I lose the whole $1 million in one night of casino?
Yes,
she'd be like,
yes.
oh well, then you gotta live like a poor guy for the rest of your life.
Well, that's what Bob Marley said. Bob Marley said, "Possession make you poor. I know have that kind of richness." What do you mean rich? You know, he's quite right.
What is richness money to you?
Yeah.
Money for someone else, it might not even
No. What I was trying to get at was the lifetime of the contract worth is accrued over time. And so you get a mortgage from a bank, right? So he owns a house.
Yeah.
You want to buy that
Himmler house,
and I'm a bank. You come to me and you say, I want to buy this house, and I say, okay, here's a piece of paper. It's worth $500,000. I give that piece of paper to you. You give it to you give
me.
the money to him.
To Himmler.
I cash you the money out electronically. You give it to him. I've created the money with the contract. I don't take that money out of the bank vault and give it to you. The fact that you're going to pay it back to me over time with your labor, your mortgage, gives me the ability to write the credit note. So I write $500,000 into existence from us sitting down together. My point is, people's lives work the same way. We just don't think of it that way. So instead of saying on the back end, you've got to earn £10 an hour minimum wage for the rest of your life, why not create a mortgage version where you author with the lender your whole life value and get it to begin with, and then you can go off and set yourself up.
Look, if you're saying that you have got £1 million worth of money at all, worth of actually assets, let's say, when you're 18 years old, the government gives you a flat, it gives you a car, it gives you what?
No, it's not the government gives you. What I'm saying, no, it's different. What I'm saying is your value to the economy over time will be that. Well, you can tot it up. You can look at the people who are 65 and say, well, okay, look at all their wages, what they spent, what the loans they got.
So let's just say someone is 65 years old and they literally have messed up the whole time of their life. What happens? Do you have? Yeah. But again, look, that's something that fantasy stories. Right now, where we are, we should know that money at this moment, there are billionaires in this world. Do you know what that means? That means that there are people in this world who have got more than what they can ever spend in their whole entire life. More than what they
spend it across the bills.
And majority of these are actually fake money, or it's not. Example, let's say Elon Musk. Yes, you would argue that the guy is worth 200 billion. I would say no, he doesn't.
He's worth 20% of the shares of PayPal and Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah.
So I heard him speak on a podcast the other day with Lex Friedman, and he said, "Look, I've never cashed out anything. I don't own anything.
He doesn't.
I just have shares in successful companies.
Yes, but
and I've actually never been a rich guy with like a pile of money.
Actually,
I just happen to own 20% of these companies that I set up, and I happen to then have whatever the market value of the 20% shares is at the time. So it's a
right now,
stock exchange fiction.
If somehow, just for sake of conversation, we have got, I don't know, Taliban overtaking the West. Just sake of conversation.
Yeah.
It started here, everyone.
It started here. Yeah.
And you have got the whole market crashes, the whole internet,
NFTs. Yeah.
Working. Elon Musk got a penny on his name.
No, it's all electronic.
So cash has always been a king. The reason the West is killing cash is because they don't want enough kings.
Yes.
Everyone has got cash.
Yes.
They're king. I'm not going to do what you say to me, but
yes,
if everything I have is owned inside a bank card and you own the bank,
yes,
I'm no one. All I'm doing is literally asking you if I can please take out my money.
Yes, and I can put a zero or I can take off a zero with a flick of a switch. And so that's where we're headed with what we see as the Chinese social credit system. That's where we're headed with being regulated through these smartphones. And then if we cross the street wrong, we're not allowed to have a bank account. That's
the West. Don't get me wrong. This idea of one world, or bringing the whole for the West has been they're so small now. You can be in Germany, I can be here, and we can do whatever we want, no matter just one
teleconference. And as if we're in the room.
Where in Afghanistan, even if that's possible, people don't want to do it.
Yes. I don't want to Zoom call someone in Mazar-e Sharif from Kandahar.
First of all, people are really when you
like that.
sort of work with them, they shake your hand for it.
Yes.
They want to know if you're actually a serious guy or not.
Yes.
I can't tell if you're behind the screen. You can wear 10 type of ties. I don't care.
We like ties, yeah.
If I can't see you ever in my life. And this idea is being implementing on you guys on the West. Right now, your whole life is in your mobile phone.
Mm.
If I take his mobile phone away from him,
I die.
He literally
I die.
Oh my god, where's the drugs?
But you're quite right, actually. Yeah,
it's like the life of a junkie.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You know, they put your life in this thing.
Mm.
You don't have your own ideas. You don't have your. People tell me, right? You know, how do you guys? Whatever they say about Afghanistan or the East, for me, sounds so ridiculous. When you guys talk about women rights, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
When you guys talk about how we are the one who is oppressing women, I'm like, oh my god, where am I? Like, what? Okay. Early on, I think I was saying something about women which she did not agree. I think women are made for different reasons in different places. Like example, I don't know. Have you been to Brazil?
No.
So a very beautiful country. Yes, absolutely amazing country. The woman, there is a sense of loss of who they are. For them, the best woman who can twerk is the most in demand. Right? This is
like Nicki Minaj.
Now this has became a trend. Who has got a backside? Who has and these things are not meant to be defining a woman.
Bob Marley's opinion. Yeah, I think Bob would say, get up, stand up for your rights. Don't give up the fight. That's what Marley would say. What would you say? What would you say to Marley and thus to Jah as a result of that?
That's up to Marley, whatever he wants.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
this is a degrading woman.
Yeah.
If somehow someone tells me
Brazilian women, they were too much standing for their rights, and now they're twerking.
But they've never stood for their rights. They've never.
Why they're twerking then?
The twerking, you see how what men have done in West, they have valued, they put a value against women. They've said to women, right, you know what? If I will, because I have the money, so this is the money. They've created value for the money, and they've said to the woman that your values would be only higher if you've got better back, better front. So that's the idea. That's the notion.
Paying for it.
Pardon?
Men were paying for it.
Man has always paid for it.
Female twerks, the more money she gets from men.
Man has always paid for everything. The whole idea, you have to understand, men are creators of this world. There is no ifs and buts about it. A woman is not creator, men are creators. But what the West has done to women, their morals have been squashed by money. Where in Afghanistan, you tell a woman to work, boy, it's not only her who would want you to kill, everyone behind her would want you. You're like, who do you think I am? What do you think of a woman who would just come in front of you and twerk? What do you think of her? Do you think she's an angel? No. You do not what the idea of twerking, you're like, what? Does that turn you on? No. Is that the idea? Is that something that you think that's talent? No. Why? Because men like to make people do things that just satisfy them or for them to look at you. So up there, I saw this woman, and she was like, "Oh, I like to be a dog." I'm like, okay, and she actually was telling her boyfriend that to put collar on her neck.
Oh, and cuffs. Cuffed and buggered. Like Philip Firstov.
And you think to yourself, this is called freedom? Is this...
Oh, it's Freiheit, yeah.
Like, where do you... That's not freedom. This is not freedom. This is stupidity. This is not freedom.
Where are you on dog women?
On the dog women scale?
Yeah. No. What do you think of dog woman? The freedom to be the dog woman you always wanted to be.
This is a conversation about happiness.
Yes, how? Yeah, sort of. So what parameters are happiness?
Are they emancipated women happy or not? And we never can answer that.
Do you know who said that though?
Answer this question because what we can measure is just the individual feeling of happiness, and it's a matter of psychology how you ask this and what people say. But you never know. Maybe these old working women are really less happy.
So you believe, you think just because personal satisfaction of someone is more important than the average knowledge, than the average mind things of
oh yes, exactly. Yes, good idea.
Yeah, we'll pass it over here.
I feel important.
Yeah, swap us over. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I've met Fry. Yeah, I've been done. I've been Himmler. Yeah.
Okay. I was invited in the conversation.
Yes, come. Yeah, Lavrenti. Yeah.
Lavrenti.
100 kilos.
Ah,
Yeah.
I know Lavrenti, who is Beria.
Lavrenti Beria. Yeah.
Yes, it's the only Lavrenti I knew.
Yeah.
So we are talking about.
Well, welcome to Marine Smith.
Thank
He's
you.
here with us. Has been in the background before, but now I think we're entering into the chat. We've got the mic. Great. Perfect. So we were saying, Massey saw the dog woman, and thought that was a disordered idea.
Yeah, I understand. And I've read a book about British people, and there was a whole chapter about lots of British men. They had such a strong emotions in the schools, the grammar schools, where they were regularly beaten and spanked and just maybe yes. And then when they grew up, they kind of couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's why mistresses and BDSM, all these mistresses, they are very popular in UK. It's a huge business.
So posh boys from boarding schools,
which schools
like to be
spanked?
Yeah.
Schools,
dominatrix,
Italians, yeah,
because they're reliving their having been cuffed and buggered as kids by older kids or teachers in boarding schools.
Jolly booty.
Yes, because Britain is very famous for this, and the richer you are, the more hardly you are spanked in the boarding school. Yeah.
So essentially, corporal punishment and paedophilia in the schools of posh men, causing them to become sexual submissives who then seek out.
We see how easy you guys take the idea of pedophiles or the ideas of actually people going through those kind of things. It's very bizarre because do you think what should people be punished for the pedophiles? Like when they do such a thing, what do you think should happen to them?
Well, it's the ultimate evil.
Pedophiles,
because it's robbing somebody of their entire future life and
so
causing
do you see my earlier point about personal choices or personal happiness?
Yes.
Just because something makes you happy, it does not mean that you should implement it on the rest of the people.
Yes.
Right? So example, someone who likes to have sex with young kids, that doesn't mean just because that's his choice, he finds a happiness in it suitable for him, okay for the rest.
Yes,
it's absolutely wrong. So there is only so much people should take, as much as when it comes to personal. The rest should be common sense to everyone else. And sorry, not common sense. The common grounds on where people should draw the line of stupidity and happiness. You know, a pedophile can claim that it makes him happy.
And we have a rights movement now in this country.
So what would you say?
And have done since the 1970s. It's called PI, the Paedophile Information Exchange. It actually was one of the contributor charities to Liberty, the civil rights organization, was the PI, the Paedophile Information Exchange.
Yeah,
there was a Labour minister. There was a Labour minister, a woman who was the chief solicitor for the Paedophile Information Exchange in the 1970s, and then became big in Liberty. Harriet Harman, who was one of Tony Blair's ministers.
He's a nightmare. He's Richard Von Blair.
Yeah, but why is it? It's only for poor people. Those rules don't apply for rich people.
Of course,
absolutely, they do not apply for rich. But look at it from where I'm from. Example now, Taliban.
This is my opening gambit for you.
Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're a high-level commander or whether you're a normal guy, if you do something bad, regardless of what it is, the law will not wait for you to go to the court and get punished. No, that's a very long distance. I don't know what was going to happen to you. I don't know who's going to come and rescue you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen during this whole trial.
All I know is that I've got the keys to the cuffs. So if you ever need letting out, I'll unlock you.
There you go. Yeah. For us, the whoever is there at the time, he will be the punisher and he will be the judge at the time. And I look, if my child, God forbid, gets abused, in here they'll say, right, so for this pedophile, he's 5 years or 10 years in prison. Who on earth are you to judge my feelings of how I feel that he should be punished because he did that to my kid, not to yours? You can just say 10 years, that's not enough. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for my kid. My kid is not going after 10 years. He's not going to forget that.
I want his blood. His blood. I want him to scream. I want him to suffer.
So how much is right and wrong? It does not depend basically on what you say. It's totally not. I think we as the people, we have got our minds on who do we accept in our society, who we don't.
Ed Mitzer, everybody. Ed, Massey, Ed, Marine, Ed.
It's a Q. QR code, thank you.
Yes, you've got to use your QR code.
It's stand over there for
me, your good as well as others.
Yeah, that's what they said. We got to get. That's what the police said when they arrested Philip Fursov. They tied Philip side, put him down, cuffed him, buggered him, slapped him over the head with a truncheon. They said it's for your safety as well as ours, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I was invited like an expert in women's rights and emancipation, but looks like you switched to pedophiles, and I'm not necessary now.
So
pedophiles and blood.
So we were talking about.
So if somebody raped your child, you want to kill him? Want you?
Well, we've got a American revolutionary flag.
We were discussing what happens when someone rapes your child.
Okay.
So the starting point of this was Massey saw the dog girl, and then we moved on to the perversions of men.
She likes to do that.
Is that what she makes when she gets fucked? It's quite nice.
Yeah, she also likes to lick, and she licks everything.
Does she have a fish?
Because she's a dog, right?
Yeah, you guys have extended the idea
of family. Keep a dog. You said yourself, keep a dog. Don't have a child. That's what you need.
Human dog.
I think it's in the house.
So we were talking about freedom and happiness, and so the Western concept now is
you're free to do anything you like.
Free to do anything you like.
Everyone can be a dog. Yeah.
Essentially. But that's actually always been true. You know, the abuse of children is very pervasive in all institutions, schools,
churches. Back in 1956, is one of the biggest abuses of kids with the churches.
Of course, and it's still true today. Yeah. So it's not just Epstein Island. You know, the super elite. This goes to every stratum of society. There'll always be people hiding in institutions around children, or even the family.
And maybe a lot of you might disagree with me, but I have traveled quite a bit in my time, and I have found out that the majority of the white people, they are so much in love with having this thing with kids, rather than the idea of the nurture. Let's say, example, if you go to Africa, if you go to Asia, the idea is the West has entertained this idea for centuries, from your top kings, and they have entertained the idea of pedophiles, and that's fine. But let's say, example, India. India, with the highest population, one of the highest population in the world, You've got highest amount of rape, not of the kids. You've got rape of women. But when it comes to
that's what they say.
When it comes to women and kids, no. And
11-year woman with periods, is she kid or no?
You see, this is a very interesting point, because now, who are we to decide? Example, go back, I don't know, 100 years ago. People, they used to grow up early. When they were 13, 14 years old, they were in marriages status. But now we have
longer childhood.
That look, you know what, it's 18 years old. Who decided this? So you're telling me before 18 years old, a guy and a girl can't have their puberty, or they don't have the hormones? Like, who decided, or who said that after 18 it's okay for you to kill someone, but under 18 you're considered as a naive or stupid? You see,
what was that? Kill someone?
Would be in military service.
Ah, okay.
So whatever is the idea, what is with Taliban? They have got a very straight mind about everything. They say if you get caught, do you know, one of 5 years when they first came into power in 1996, when they first came, the only government in the whole entire world, which with all the record in the history, the first government for 5 years, no one saw the president. No one saw how did Mullah Muhammad Omar look like. The one
eye.
This picture came out very long after the Americans.
Yes.
Very long after. From 96 until 2001, he ruled Afghanistan. The only time me personally, I remember is one time, I think it was somewhere in 96, 97, that the whole road got blocked. They said, and they don't refer him as his name. They refer him as a leader in a very respectful way. He said the whole day people used to talk, the leader's coming, he's coming, he's coming. So anyways, it was mid-afternoon.
This is Kandahar.
Kabul. Yes. 5 cars drove by, and all of them had same number plate. It said Al-Tawquf, means non-stop. Tinted car, no one's for the president. Everyone was just cheering. And he was such a person. If he would have said from tomorrow onwards there's no cars allowed to be driven in no one would have driven it. They are people of logic, but he wouldn't have said stupid things like, you know, the way the West are making out right now, the Taliban or the Taliban or not Taliban. If they were terrorists, why did you deal with them? Why did you deal with Taliban? You fought them for 20 years. You fought a bunch of people from Cave.
What? At which stage are you talking about dealing with them right now?
Well, at any point, why did
before they weren't conceived as terrorists before.
Why were you fighting?
Sorry?
Why were you fighting them?
Why are we?
Yeah, you fought them for 20 years. Right?
Yeah.
For what? The purpose.
You mean in Afghanistan?
Yes.
Oh well, yeah, it was disproportionate, perhaps, wasn't it?
I mean, what was
I missed a little bit of the discussion.
Wait,
here.
it was
rewind it.
Well, so many people believe it was about opium.
Look, this is just you. This is how lost you guys are. That you don't even know the real reason.
So what's your view? The real reason is.
So for us, regardless of what the reason was, we have always had wars coming to our country all the time. Since I know myself, since I know my history, since I know my people.
If you knew your history, then you wouldn't have to. Who the heck do I think I am? I'm just a buffalo soldier.
He's a buffalo soldier.
The idea is very
stolen from Africa, brought to America. I mean,
or maybe Afghanistan. Maybe Canada.
Sorry, Bob Marley. I have to get Rastaman in there. Sorry, yeah.
Absolutely. So wars come to your door from
all
the Greeks, from the British, from the Soviets, from the Americans.
It's not one time.
But they never could. They could never conquer you. That was the problem, wasn't it? None of them ever managed. Isn't that right?
It's
no,
people of
even Alexander didn't manage.
Apparently, he died there.
He couldn't. And the idea was the people are so strong-willed. Even right now, if you go to Afghanistan, even in the villages, people are very poor, but very strong-willed. People in West, they don't have willpower. My this year New resolution is that I'm gonna go to gym. 2 weeks pass by, and the idea is gone.
To Dubai.
Like, what's happening? Where's that willpower gone? Do you guys even have any?
That's the trade-off of liberal democracy, isn't it? You become decadent, and no one can do anything, and no one can get out of bed in the morning, and everyone just deteriorates
into a mess, stranking in their basement.
But the reason is because you guys have taken everything for granted. You guys have taken life for granted. You guys have taken basic things, electricity, water, warmth for granted. If you had to work for it like your ancestors did 200 years ago, believe you me, every single one in here would have been work from 5 o'clock in the morning. Probably in one of those.
Yes.
We the people in West have been a kid in Afghanistan who is 8 years old, 9 years old. I guarantee you that he has got more of willpower and more of determination than anyone who's in there.
Oh, so you think this is why it's impossible to conquer Afghanistan?
Absolutely.
Centuries.
Absolutely. People, you cannot break people's willpower. You can't. It's just they're born with this. It's like look, you've got the same thing as like Indians.
Hearts and minds.
Yeah, taking.
Oh yes, that was a funny campaign.
Very, very simple people. India, we go to people, have fight. The only way they would fight you if it's like hundreds of them, and they look back, that they make sure there's one of you and there's 100 of them, and there's no way you can beat them. Yes. Okay. Apart from that, they will not fight you. They're very simple people. But the Afghans, the idea of war is born with them. You're a fighter when you're born, you're a fighter. Make sure don't let anyone come over and take your land. Right. When we were growing up with my cousin, we had the AK-47. You open it. You want to see how fast you open, or how the people are not easily.
They have it in the Russian Caucasus as well. So where I'm from, it's Rostov-on-Don. It's not far from Chechnya, Dagestan. And yes, they have this beautiful aesthetic of a male, the conqueror, and strong one. And when they were fighting with Russia, Chechnya.
I think it's Chechnya House.
Yeah, I remember when I was a child, we have all these refugees from Chechnya on our streets. Yeah. And as my city is quite close and they have big universities that they can study in, and yes, it is romanticized as well from where I am from.
Our women in general, a very important point here is that where we are from, we know the difference between a woman and a man. When we see our women, we refer them as poetries, flowers, someone who is not supposed to do a lot of hard work. And our women praise us for our mentality, or our willpower, or we don't give in no matter what happens. And we are praised for this. We die for this. That's our pride. A woman is not just a woman, for you to play or for you to look at. No. It's not how we see women. You guys are the one who makes women work so you can get higher taxes.
Women said they wanted to work.
No, women in the West, they just don't like, do the washing all the time, cleaning dishes. They consider it to be quite a hard work.
Why do you
quite
guys...
hard work.
No, hard.
Or looking after babies.
No. Yeah, they say we will better to work.
Is that your reason?
We'll better go to work, but not wash the dishes. That's the logic. I'm just explaining the point of view.
Working tax credits.
If this logic was back in 1980s and 90s, okay, but right now you've got so much that women don't have to do anything. Washing, put in a washing machine, cleaning. These are like, it's not, it would take 1 hour time of a woman to do those things compared to 8 hours of work that people make her do.
But people in Afghanistan are very poor. They don't have washing machines, no?
People in Afghanistan I'm talking about right now, they rather wash their clothes with hands, be poor, cook at home, than actually go and work.
Okay.
The idea is for them, they're like, I'm not the provider. I'm not supposed to be the provider. It's the man who's supposed to provide. So if
it's a matter of principle.
So if I provide and he provides, who's going to look after the kids? Who's going to cook? What should we do? Like who should?
So you're saying most women prefer this? This is
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not
in
forced.
Afghanistan.
It's not forced. The idea of the force is wrong.
Yeah.
You
mean pre-Taliban?
Doesn't matter. The idea of this whole idea of women and men in the throughout the generation, even in 70s, 60s, we were very liberal. People used to wear skirts.
So even in that
yet
time.
Still that time, they know their roles. They know that, right, as a man, you're a provider, and as a woman, I'm the maker.
Yeah.
So you bring me to the house, I'll make the house at home. But now what it is that if you have got baby and you're in the West, both of you expected to work in order to survive. Funny how they expect you to work to pay tax, and they expect you to give your baby to someone else to keep. So you have a baby, yet you don't pay time for them. We see it as a harmful thing you're doing to the kid. That's not how you're supposed to bring a baby into this world. That you have to go work. Your husband goes up work.
But we do have a history of this, because if you look at the elites and to which families aspired in the past, you'd see a man who goes out to work, a woman who is a lady of leisure, governesses, prep schools, boarding schools. The parents would enjoy the child's piano recital, would enjoy the child in their good clothes.
But that's not everyone.
And then there would be employees with money. But that was a lot of the British imperial model. And so a lot of families, if they got any money, the first thing they would do is send their child away to school, send their child away to
again,
and so then they could have their time.
The
child could have the better education.
10% of the whole British Empire ideology. You've got the 90% of the Brits who would not spend a penny for their kids to go to these boarding schools. Well, they can't really afford it in the first place for them to go. So
there are state boarding schools. Oliver went to a state boarding school, for instance.
Not me, the other Oliver.
Oliver?
I must clarify, a different Oliver. Oliver McFry. Thank you. I went to Harry.
My point is that the home and hearth idea was not shared by the elites who governed these societies and made the model of how these societies worked. You're right, there were many people who couldn't afford those things. But
the majority, I should say, not many.
So the majority couldn't afford those things. The minority aspired to those things.
Yeah, but that's in every way. Anyway, in the example, me from Afghanistan, you have got 95% of the country literally hungry, right? But there is a 5% elite, you want to call them. They've got the idea. Like example, in my house, I've had 3 drivers, I've had a gardener, I've had cleaners, I've had different people for different work. But that doesn't mean that's the whole idea of the people. That's for some people who can actually do it. Same as Brits. The Brits, the idea of the boarding school. Like example, when you guys ruled in India for 100 years.
We've got Mayo College and all these Maharajas palaces that were turned into schools.
Because you guys have been lazy bums all your life. You've always enjoyed riding on other people's back.
Well, that's what we do here. We're all with each other. We have
when you went to India, you literally stole billions and trillions in money and cash and assets, and you enslaved the people. Yet you claim to
you played quite a big part in that, didn't you?
Yeah, I was the agent of British East India. I admit, I was the agent of the British East India Company in 1849.
You look like.
Well, I'm his twin brother.
But to be quite honest with you, I don't blame you guys. I don't blame the Brits who did that. I blame the Pakistanis who actually went through that.
Why? Why do you blame them? I'm half. That's all right.
All
right, yeah.
And the reason I blame
I'm curious.
The reason I do blame it is because
Pakistan didn't exist at the time.
But the Mughal, the sort of end of the Mughal Empire, I suppose.
But one of the thing is that you guys accepted these 10 million people who, not even 10 million when the Brits came with their army, they were not even 1 million, but they managed to rule over hundreds of millions of people in India. It was a matter of choice.
Yeah, they sort of just let them sort of roll in, didn't they?
It was a matter of choice. Why couldn't they do it in
well,
Afghanistan?
but then if
they came to Afghanistan twice.
It was
if we're going to look at the Indians or the Pakistanis, there were feudal rulers who oppressed a whole load of people and turned them into serfs.
Denial.
And then there's the serfs. So a lot of the serfs who were oppressed by their own power hierarchs. Does it matter if your master's British in a palace or Indian in a palace?
Hold on a second. So you're trying to say to me, it's okay if Taliban tomorrow comes and starts ruling in here and tell you know what, after this is Sharia law in London, are you going to accept it? Regardless of how bad your own people are. It doesn't make sense. That's got nothing. What our people are, not only my people, anyone's, what they're going through by their own people is 10 times, even 100 times more, less hurtful than when there's a foreign occupation doing it.
We have a foreign occupation in Buckingham Palace.
You do?
Saxe Coburg and Gotha. They've been there since 1713.
You do? You do.
And
the House of Himmler.
they may have posh English accents, but fundamentally they're a German family from Hohenzollern, from Hanover.
Germans. You don't have no English king. You don't have no English queen. Your history is not.
The English ruled themselves for 10 years.
French.
Oliver Cromwell during the Republic of England. Oliver Cromwell was English and he ruled England. After that, it was the Scots and the Dutch and the Germans. Before that, it was the Scots and the Welsh and the French. And then before that, the Germans, the Saxons. The English have never ruled themselves.
You don't have anyone like example. Us, we have our. Take Afghanistan. Since our history, since we know, we take pride in no one can come and rule us. It's not going to happen. Our people, my grandfathers, my great grandfather has been the king of those lands, and no one can take over. But when people are submissive, like
India and Pakistan, so yeah, the English sort of just rolled in and said, "Well, we're just going to nicely do this," and everyone just said,
okay,
"All right, then." And it happened slowly and surreptitiously, didn't it?
Like the white men went to Africa and they gave Africans mirror, and then in the settlement they took damage. Now, even right now, you get from 4 or 5 countries, you get over 500 billion tax to France every single year. The idea of you giving is your fault. I can go to it. Look, if I come here today and say, all right, guys, get out of this place. If you guys get out of this place, it's not my fault. It's your fault.
We're just testing us.
So these guys they came to India, Pakistan.
What were India going to do against England with all their sort of?
Pardon?
Well, England had this superior sort of army and everything, I reckon.
Superior army.
But these guys, farmers and barristers from New England, from America, they were English, right? But they weren't the redcoats who had a cross in white over where their heart was. They had muskets. They were firing from behind the walls of their own land that they knew, behind dry stone walls, behind tree stumps. And these guys in the American Revolution managed to kill off the British army, the redcoats, which were the most powerful army on earth, because their tactics were wrong. They were wearing bright red.
It's not even about to get to the tactics. That's the second step. The first step is for you to rise. You guys didn't do that part. So when the Brits came,
I'm actually a mixture of the two. my mum's English, my father's
Pakistani.
So it's like...
I don't mean personally. I'm just meaning generally.
It wasn't me.
when they went to India and Pakistan, these people, without anything, they were very impressed with these clothes and with this, ginger mustaches. Probably,
Yeah, they were.
Come along, it's your place. But when they came to Afghanistan, people were like, what are you doing? Who are you? You know where you are. This is not India. This is not Bangladesh. This is not those places. We were the one who used to rule those places. So for us, we already know that these people are very similar to people separate.
Do you think it's anything to do with Islam? The fact that England got sort of resisted in that way?
In Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with Islam at all. Because
Islam was not very Islam.
Afghanistan, the people of Afghans, our history, when it was written down, we were way before Islam.
Yeah, of course.
The Bamiyan Buddhas, different civilizations.
We were people who used to believe in fire, but still the name Afghans were there. Otherwise, let's say example, the Pakistanis or the Indians, they're born Muslim before they were born Pakistani.
In India, there's just a lot of tribal sort of Brahminists,
sure.
And they didn't really have that much Islam there. I think the Mughals were.
The Mughals were Islamic.
They were Islamic.
A couple of comments on the end.
Yes.
But that was on the stream.
What was going on in Afghanistan at that time, at the time of that sort of colonialist era? Was it?
Afghanistan has never been colonized by anyone.
No, I know, but was it very Islamic? I actually don't. No.
The people of Afghanistan, the whole idea of radical Islam in Afghanistan has risen up after the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
The radical Islam, before people were very modern. I mean, if you pull up
miniskirts in Kabul, yes.
But there wasn't much
miniskirts.
Yeah.
Very.
Yes.
Absolutely no. But what was the willpower of the Afghan people to be resistant, to be a rebel, to be a fighter, has always existed.
Yeah,
the
desert fighter kind of mentality, like Arabia.
No, you see another idea, which is a big misunderstanding between the people. Arab people, the whole Arab nation is quite big. The Arab nation, they're big, but every Arab is not fighter. The idea of Arabs being fighter is not right at all. It's completely misconception of the Arab people. Arab people have never been fighters, ever.
You don't.
They're not. I mean, look, Palestine is the only country which people don't have choice. Whether you fight, you'll die. Whether you don't fight, you'll die. People might as well. But that's not by choice. In Afghanistan, people fight by choice. How do you think that 20 years spent $2.3 trillion in a war, do you lose? 2.3 trillion. Do you know how much money that is?
And where did that money go? To the munitions providers.
Of course,
This
was the whole point of going to the war in such a country that you have got some people who would want to make insurance, weapon, and all these contractors.
Yes.
So it's a way of taking the money from the populace and giving it to
American business.
Because I always thought that was a bit of a hole in the argument.
The Americans withdrawing just means there's still loads of contractors there, aren't there?
A lot.
It's like the uniformed army is gone.
You see,
Americans. So how was your experience in Afghanistan?
Oh, just ferrying.
What were you doing
around in Camp Bastion mainly?
Well, which part of Afghanistan were you in?
Oh, Helmand.
Camp
Bastion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm from Kandahar, just right.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, I only stopped on a C-130 there briefly to fly to Bastion. But
you guys are very the idea of the British soldiers and American soldiers, such a I hope I don't offend you.
No, please.
But
offend us, yeah.
We just think that mind my language. We think you guys are such a pussy. So bad. Like you guys, the moment